Dear students, so far we discussed a lot of concepts and areas from phonetics and phonology, and now we have to move forward to the next area. The last session we discussed articulatory system, and we know how the speech sounds are produced. We know the functioning of the organs of speech in the human body. We know what are active articulators and passive articulators. We know how each of the articulators just function when the air is passing through the oral cavity as well as the nasal cavity. And we know about the oral sounds, the nasal sounds, and a third category, the nasalized sounds. Today, we in fact move forward to a very important area which is known as the description and classification of speech sounds. Today, we discuss the description and classification of speech sounds. And what we do in this session is we are just going to analyze the speech sounds or the phonemes. We know the speech sounds are the phonemes. The smallest sound units of any language are the speech sounds or the phonemes. And now in this lecture, we are going to describe what are the speech sounds of English and how are they classified. So we are describing and classifying the phonemes of English in this lecture. And of course, we have a little bit of understanding about the phonemes and of course the classification. That is, of course, we know that broadly these speech sounds are classified into two groups. That is, of course, the vowels and the consonants. That is the broad classification. Speech sounds or phonemes are broadly classified into, on one side we have the vowel sounds, the other side we have vowels on one side, and second side we have the consonant sounds. All right, so this is the broad classification. This is the broad classification of speech sounds. All right, speech sounds are broadly classified into vowels and consonants. And of course, we are in the third year, and in the second year and in the first year, of course, we did have a little exposure to the phonetics. And of course, we know that there are a particular number of vowels and a particular specific number of consonants, right? So I think everybody is sure about the number, and we know that there are 20 vowels and 24 consonants. There are 20 vowels and 24 consonants in English phonology. And we are sure about the 20 vowels. We know they are E, A, all right, A. Likewise, 20. And of that, of course, we have again further division into the pure vowels as well as the diphthongs. We will learn more about all that, but now before that we have to understand what are vowels. We have to, of course, describe and classification. That is the topic, right? So speech sounds are broadly classified into two: the vowel sounds and of course the consonant sounds. That is the very basic idea we need to have. Now we are just moving forward to the definition of a vowel. What is a vowel sound? This is what we have to understand. What is a vowel? What's a vowel? What's a vowel? This is what we describe. Okay, so okay, we know that in English we have we say that A, E, I, O, U are people often say that A, E, I, O, all right, U. They are the vowels, but are they the real vowels? All right, we must say that these are letters of the alphabet. In our, we have the letters of the alphabet A, B, C, D, E, F. All right, likewise we have X, Y, Z, and in that particular group of letters of the alphabet there are some letters of the alphabet which represent the vowel sounds and represent the consonant sounds, and we say that from the 26 letters of the alphabet, of course, A, B, C, A, E, I, O, U are the vowel letters. But we have to understand the fact that English, right, we have it is alphabetic, right? English language is alphabetic, and there is, of course, we have two systems functioning in the language. One side we have the very letters of the alphabet. The other side we have what is known as, of course, the sounds or the speech sounds or the phonemes, and we discuss and learn the phonology of English, and we have to understand the very important principle that letters of the alphabet are not the speech sounds. We have on one side the letters of the alphabet, the other side we have, of course, speech sounds or phonemes. And now we are discussing 26 letters of the alphabet, and we have 44 speech sounds or 44 phonemes. We have 44 phonemes, very important, and we are discussing, defining, of course, the speech sounds from the phonology of the English language, and we have to define a vowel sound. What is a vowel sound? All right, let us see. We know that the vowel sounds, they are one. Okay, we have E, the sound, right? It is the E. All right, then we have, of course, the E. All right, then we have A, we have A. All right, then we have, of course, the sound A. All right, we have the sound U. Okay, we have the sound A. All right, we have A. Likewise, of course, we have a lot. This is, in fact, these are the some of the, these are in fact right, 7 plus 4, 8, right? Okay, there are, of course, 12 pure vowels and 8 diphthongs. All right, 20 altogether. That is, but we have to define what are they, and we will define it right now. So let us see the definition of vowel. We will say that a vowel is a voiced sound in the pronunciation of which there is no obstruction or narrowing of the current of air of such a kind as to cause audible plosion or friction. This is how we describe a vowel sound. What is a vowel sound? A vowel is a vowel. A vowel is it is in fact a voiced sound. We have to understand what are voiced sound. A vowel is a voiced sound, right? It is a voice sound. This is the first thing we have to remember. A vowel is a voiced sound in the pronunciation of which, voiced sound in the pronunciation of which, in the pronunciation or articulation, pronunciation of which, all right, in the pronunciation of which there is no obstruction, there is no obstruction or narrowing, of the current of air, of the current passage of the current of air, so as to of the passage of air or current of air of such a kind as, of such a kind, as to cause an audible plosion, or friction. This is the very definition of a vowel sound. What is a vowel? A vowel is a voiced sound. What are voiced sounds? Previous lectures I introduced voice sounds, and we know that voice sounds are sounds in the production of which the vocal cords, we have the Adam's apple, we have the housing of the vocal cords, we have the two elastic membranes which are close to each other, which could be kept in a closed position, open position. We have the gap, glottis, and when the air passes through the glottis or vocal cords, there could be vibration. So sounds which are produced with a vibration. The vibration is because of the vocal cords. Vocal cords are kept close to each other, and because of the closed position, air is passing through with some kind of vibration, and such sounds which are produced with a closed vocal cords position are known as voiced sounds. So a vowel is a voiced sound in the pronunciation of which there is no obstruction or narrowing of the current of air of such a kind as to cause audible plosion or friction. We have to understand plosion and friction. Okay, so a vowel sound is produced. It is the sound comes from the lungs, okay, and it passes through the vocal cords, and as the air is just passing through the vocal cords, there is some vibration. Okay, feel for yourself. You say E, E, E. You can feel, you can keep your palm, your fingers here, and you can feel the kind of vibration. E, 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 A, Ah, Ooh, Ooh. Alright, we have the vibration there. So, a vowel sound is a voiced sound in the pronunciation of which there is no obstruction. Alright, but afterwards, right, afterwards when we say E, no obstruction, right, like in P, F, B, alright, there is obstruction, there is a closing, right. Some of the articulators, the active articulator or the passive articulator, close and there is obstruction. But vowel sounds, when we produce them, there is no obstruction, the air, no obstruction or narrowing of the current of air, such a kind as to cause audible plosion or friction. There is no plosion, Plosion, what do you mean by plosion? Is some kind of explosion. The active articulator and the passive articulator come to a contact, and of course plosion. Like you say pen, plosion there. Like bat, right? Like again cat. Okay, so we have a vowel. What's the vowel sound? A vowel sound is a sound which is voiced in the production of which there is no narrowing or no closure of the passage of air so as to cause an audible plosion or friction. So there is no plosion, there is no friction in the case of the vowel sounds. So such sounds are vowel sounds, and of course we will discuss all the 20 vowels, and thereafter of course we will see the classification among the vowel sounds like pure vowels and diphthongs in the next session. Now we will of course just define the consonant sound, right? What are consonant sounds? We have to understand consonants, right? What are consonants? And when we say consonants, of course we know that consonants are right like p, like b, okay, like ch, right, k. They are all consonant sounds, but other than that we have to describe. And we know that a consonant is a sound which may be either voiced or voiceless, in the pronunciation of which there is either a complete or a partial obstruction of the current of air of such a kind as to cause audible plosion or friction. That is important. That is the consonant. What is a consonant sound? It is in fact a consonant is a voiced, it is a voiced or voiceless sound, right? This is the first thing we have to remember. What's a consonant sound? A consonant sound is a voiced or voiceless sound in the pronunciation of which, in the articulation of which, in the pronunciation of which, right? It is a voiced or voiceless sound in the pronunciation of which there is either, okay, there is either a complete or partial obstruction of, right? We have, of course, right, we have to understand there is either a complete or a partial. All right, this is very important. We have either a complete obstruction or a partial obstruction in the passage of air, in the current of air, passage of air, such as to cause an audible plosion. This is important. Either you have an audible plosion or we have an audible friction. So these are consonant sounds. Very important to remember. Remember, sounds, consonant sounds are divided into, of course, voiced and voiceless, and we have 15 voiced sounds and 9 voiceless sounds, and we will always remember the 15 voiced and 9 voiceless. Voiceless sounds are sounds in the production of which there is no vibration of the vocal cords. The air passes through the vocal cords when the vocal cords are in the open position. And we have 9 voiceless sounds, and the sounds are, of course, ch, ch, h. They are the voiceless, 9 voiceless sounds, right? They are ch, k, f, ch, k, f, ch, sh, h. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. H, k, f, ch, s, sh, h. 9 voiceless sounds. So, what is a consonant sound? A consonant sound is a sound which is either voiced, that is vibration, or voiceless, no vibration, and which is, of course, produced, which may be either voiced or voiceless, in the pronunciation of which there is either a complete or a partial obstruction. Complete or partial obstruction, like in pencil, pick, bed, bag, bin. Complete, right? Complete obstruction. But when you say like in flower, say, cinema, slip, feel, right? There is no complete obstruction. There is a small gap, right? So we have yes, consonant sound. The consonant is a sound which is voiced or voiceless, in the production of which there is either a complete closure or a narrowing of the passage of air so as to produce an audible plosion. There is an explosion, like in pencil, bag, kick, right? Okay, there is a plosion. A lot of air is coming out. Pen, right? Plosion or friction. Friction is there is a narrow gap between the active articulator and the passive articulator. Air is released through with some kind of friction, like in flower, fly, sit, sat, sleep. We also have zoo, zoology, zigzag. So, okay, so with this, we will just wind up our introductory section on description and classification of speech sounds. We know speech sounds in English are classified into 2 groups, the vowels and the consonants. Okay, and we know the definition of vowel sounds. What are vowel sounds? Vowel sounds are voiced sounds in the production of which there is no obstruction or narrowing of the current of air of such a kind as to cause audible plosion or friction. There is no closure, there is no narrowing, there is no plosion, no friction. voiced sounds produced through, of course, the oral cavity without any difficulty. And what are consonant sounds? These are the two things we learned today. A consonant sound is either a voiced sound or a voiceless sound, in the pronunciation of which, in the articulation of which, there is, of course, a complete closure or a narrowing of the passage of air so as to cause an audible plosion or friction. And now we have to move forward to, of course, each of the understanding each of the phonemes like vowel sounds and consonant sounds. But before that, we have to understand something called the International Phonetic Alphabet, the IPA. All right. So what we learned today is, of course, right, the second category, like the 44 symbols we have. And these 44 symbols are just created by the International Phonetic Association. And we have to understand what is this particular International Phonetic Association and what are the international phonetic alphabets. That we will discuss after a short break. So let us just remember whatever we learned today, the description and classification of speech sounds. Thank you very much.